Okay, I think we are live here. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would sit down and do a live for you lovely guys and gals. Let me give you guys a bicep shot before we get started. Oh, Mount Bicephalus. Get that sleep up a little more. There we go. All right. Of course, today was arm day. If you guys saw the vlog, ended up doing 11 sets for triceps and biceps. Of course, again, they do get trained on my chest and back day also. So just an FYI. Oh, did it just now start the live? I've been talking here and now it just kicked over with a timer. Let me start that again. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I guess we are live now. So let's go through that whole spiel again. Thought I would sit down and chat with you guys and gals today. Let me give you guys a bicep shot before we get started. Mount Bicephalus. Can't believe it did that to me. All right, we'll see what we get in. Last time we had quite a few people roll in reasonably quick. Doing this a little later than last time. I think later evenings are probably better for these in general, better views, less trolls, it seems like. So we'll just see how this goes. We'll get some people in here, get some questions and topics going. Like I said, of course, it was arm day today. You guys saw the vlog. Continuing to cut, continue to train more and more with physique in mind. Of course, I do a 5-day body part split. And at this point, yeah, most of my training is 8+ reps, a lot of higher rep stuff, slowly working volume up. And we always do a combination of still my heavy compounds followed by pump work and isolation work. Although some of the body parts, I don't really do isolation. So much chest and back and things. My back doesn't need isolation. We do pull-ups and rows, chin-ups. I've seen people saying a higher VO2 max is the biggest predictor of longevity. Is that true? I've never seen data on that, Marco. Now, is it to say that having a good VO2 max is probably useful? Sure. But a predictor of longevity? I don't know that there's truth to that. I'd like to see some data on that. And it may not be causation. It may be correlation. In other words, people who have a higher VO2 max are probably, number one, leaner. Number two, probably exercise more. Do you see what I'm saying? So again, correlation, causation, those things. All right. So again, we would need multivariate analysis on that. So again, you always have to say, who are those people? But I will say, obviously, someone who has a higher VO2 max probably exercises a lot and they're probably reasonably lean. Those are both good things if your goal is longevity. Right? Body fat and being sedentary are not particularly helpful if you want to live a long time. They're not good things. All right. What else do we have going on here? See if we get some other topics going. Besides my jawline. Strong. I do not answer stare-on questions at all anymore. That will not be a thing on this channel due to YouTube's current policies. I won't even actually say the word anymore. Sorry. All right. There's going to be a few things I don't discuss on this thing. I'll just get them out of the way so that people know we're not going to discuss that there cell tech, right, or any sort of potentially illicit substance. We're not going to really discuss politics, and we're not going to discuss pew-pews. Those who don't know what that means, and don't worry about it. Jason, what do you think of Hatfield squats? I don't really think a lot about them. They're an okay exercise. I don't think they're anything special. I don't think they're anything special. They just are. It's just doing a safety bar squat, holding on to the edge of a rack. Right? It's just another exercise. I mean, I suppose it's a way to slightly unload the back, but not really, because then you still have a heavy weight loaded on your back. And you're just reducing it. So in terms of just axial loading, I don't see how it's really a benefit. But they're certainly a decent exercise. I just don't see how they're particularly better or worse than a normal back squat. It's just different. Maybe someone needs to change something up a little bit. Any tips for someone struggling with severe hip shift when squatting? How are you struggling with it? Again, how are you struggling with it? I don't think severe hip shift is necessarily that big of a deal. And if you are having some hip shift, maybe just reduce the weight and do more reps until you build up whatever muscles are causing it. It's probably a potential muscle imbalance causing it. that can be changed with hypertrophy, right? Probably just slightly reduce the weight, do more volume, focus on the form until it goes away. Okay. I think people have made a bigger deal out of minor hip shift than it really is when you think about the asymmetry of the human body. Rolando, I literally do not have a party that I ascribe to. I'm not saying I don't care at all about politics. It's just not particularly important in my life. It's so minor in my life that I don't actually have a specific ideology that I adhere to, and I don't consider myself to be a member of any of the major political parties. So, but I mean, it's obviously, I'm not completely apolitical. I care a little bit, but I would say probably below average. I probably care about politics a little less than the average person. Therefore, why would I really talk about it? Make sense? A new trend has emerged, especially popular women where they walk backwards on a treadmill. I would suspect this trend started with TikTok. Would you be interested in trying it? Why would I try it? Who said this is a new trend? You have to be really, 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 really motherfucking young to think that's a new trend. You got to be like 23. Right? You got to be like 22 or 23. Because no one from my generation thinks this is new. People have been doing this stuff for about 80 years. I mean, especially women. Women have been doing it a really, really long time. I saw people doing this 25 years ago. It's silly. It's pointless. But it's been popular for a long time. So again, this is people on TikTok just doing the same silly stuff people have always done. Probably done since the 60s, since the 70s. What do you think of greasing the groove for muscle hypertrophy? Could it? Honestly, I think greasing the groove is less effective than just doing hard sets. And I don't think greasing the groove is a terrible method, for getting a stronger pull up or whatever. But in terms of it actually being ideal for hypertrophy, no, doing harder limit sets. Taking sets close to failure is probably better for hypertrophy with reps. Right? Anything up in about the 5 to 20 rep range, done either to failure or within, 1 to 3 reps of failure. Okay. Nothing. Quit posting silly stuff like that. I can already tell you're a troll. You're not going to last long. Is there any downside to making all of your pump work fairly high rep, 20 to 30 reps? Supposedly hypertrophy outcomes are identical. I don't actually think that is ideal. I think that can, if you do all of your pump work really high reps, I think that creates too much fatigue, and it has to do with calcium ion stuff, right? It has to do with your calcium ion situation. So no, it's probably not ideal. Can you do some of it? Can some of it be useful? But no, I wouldn't recommend you do all of it. I would think most of your pump work should probably be in about the 10 to 15 rep range. And if you want to do a little bit in the higher rep ranges, there's certainly nothing wrong with that. What do you think about what Joey Swoll is doing in the fitness industry? Some of the, Rolando, I see some downsides to that because he's also pushing a little bit of no filming in gyms, which I think is a problem. I think people should be filming in gyms. And yes, I think if influencers are going overboard, and yeah, Joey Swoll does appear in my feed on Facebook, by the way. I do see him in my feed. I think what he does is generally positive. Okay. Like I do think what he does is about 80% positive, about 20% bad, right? Because no one is 100%. The downside, meaning it's almost a pushing a no filming in the gym. And I think that is probably not good because people do need to be filming in the gym, particularly their lifts. You need to be seeing what you're doing. We have these amazing tools available now. We all have a supercomputer with an HD camera in our pockets. We should be using that to observe our lifts. We can send it to our coaches. We can look at it ourselves. We should be looking at our lifts and filming it. So I'm concerned that it can push it more in that direction. But by that same token, some of the influencers that I've seen him call out really are abusing what they're doing in the gym. Okay. And he has a valid point there. Is a month off of training recovery a good idea? No. Why would you think that? I don't care what Mike Israetel says on it. I would never advocate that. That's silly. Strong as hell. Yes, I still do my consultations. I will still discuss those things if someone has needs of it. I've always done that. When it comes to consultations, you can message me, ask me what topics you want to cover, what you need help with, and we set that up ahead of time. So obviously anything in your fitness or competitive related stuff, I'm going to give answers to and discuss. But yeah, something like that, you would need to address it with me, obviously ahead of time when scheduling it, when you message me. But yeah, absolutely, of course. And the same thing with clients. If clients are going to go that route, I'm obviously going to discuss that with them, but I'm also going to be very, very conservative in my advice there. Okay. So, yeah, but over to the other thing about a month off, I struggle to see Dr. Mike saying that. Maybe he did, but it sounds like complete nonsense. I wouldn't recommend that. You're going to detrain, and there's no reason to do that for recovery. The only reason people are overtraining to a point where you even need deloads is because you did something wrong. Hey, I want to be clear on that. If you are consistently needing deloads, there's probably something already wrong in your training. And I think that's part of the issue with that whole thing of just ramping volume till you're forced to take a deload. I don't think that's optimal for hypertrophy. I think it's overcomplicating it for the purposes of selling programs. And I can't say that that's ideal. I can't say the evidence even supports that. But, so you have to ask that question of, is Mike really pushing an evidence-based approach on that, even though most of his stuff is very evidence-based? And I'm not going to argue with that. And I'm not going to argue against his legitimacy as an expert because he obviously is a highly knowledgeable expert. But sorry, I got distracted by one of the really weird questions. I don't understand the question. Vampire Kirill. Is this like a TV show? Right? I don't understand your point. Is this like a television show or something, like a spinoff of True Blood? I have no idea what you're talking about. So, but back over to the other point, pushing that sort of thing, again, it's more of a marketing thing. I don't think that there's actually a reason to do that. And most experts I know out there, even with advanced degrees in the field, don't think it's necessary or beneficial to do that. Okay. All right. Any other topics or questions? We're getting a few more people trickling in here. We ever get another Bag Puss appearance on the channel? I got to go find. I actually still have Bag Puss, by the way. Actually do have Bag Puss. He's tucked away. All right. What a weirdo. Man, some of these weird questions people ask. I don't know where you guys come up with this absurd stuff. I really don't. Again, for the person asking that weird question, my advice to you, I would highly recommend that you go seek the help of a mental health professional. No, I'm asking how much muscle does. Okay, let me restate the question. Is this a television show? Vampire, could you explain to me who this is? Is this like a TV show? Like Vampire the Masquerade, True Blood? Like what in the actual fuck are you talking about? I don't understand your question. Jason, like vegetables, should lifters make fruits a base of their diet? Yeah, to a certain extent, sure. Just the only thing to remember, fruits are going to be a little more calorie dense. You're going to have more carbohydrate there. But I see no reason why not. If you need more calories, even replacing vegetables with fruit does make sense. It actually does make sense, right? But the benefits are largely the same, very similar overlap, fiber, antioxidant status, all that. It's just that there's usually a little more calories in the fruit. Okay. What do you think of balance board exercises? The ankles are quite stiff, but worry it's just aggravating. I don't think balance board exercises, unless you are training for balance specifically, are useful. They're certainly not useful for getting bigger or stronger. Okay. So my question would be, what are you trying to do with these movements? Like, are you doing them specifically for like martial arts or something, like being a Kung Fu master? Or are you doing this as an actual form of normal exercise, in which case they're probably useless and silly? For mid novices, can squats be, sorry, the little heart thing is blocking the rest of your question. Uh, something for hamstrings and calves. I can't see the whole word. Be okay. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You will not build big hamstrings doing squats. Sorry, that is what the evidence shows, that there's only a tiny amount of hamstring growth from squats. Okay. All right, Jason, I just started strong list 5x5 for the first time in gym. I took your advice and added preacher curls and barbell curls in. What exercise do you recommend for triceps long head? Any type of extension, bro. Any type of extension, right? Anything that bends the elbow. You got to get this there, long head. All right. Weirdos. Okay. I'm just going to assume at this point these guys are just silly trolls. They just going to be gone. Let's just get rid of them. All right. Yeah, skull crushers perfectly fine. Again, the thing I will say though, for skull crushers, if you're a novice, keep them at least 12 reps. Make sure that you keep your elbow tendons healthy. Maybe even do some high rep band press downs. Also on top of it to keep those elbow tendons healthy. Okay. Yep. Well, Rupu, it sounds like that guy is a weirdo. They're going to take my picture and put it up on their thing. Again, an example of someone who is undergoing a mental health crisis who probably needs to get professional help then. I've plateaued on pull-ups for years. We'll keep working at them. Keep pushing harder on them. Maybe do a few sets to failure. Continue to gain muscle, and they will go up. Rondo, it's just weirdos and trolls. What can you do about it? Are you doing any gaming these days, Coach? I don't do any video gaming. I have not done any video gaming for probably close to 2 years at this point. I do tabletop gaming. I do Warhammer, which, you guys see my painting and stuff I'm working on. I put up all the pictures, right? I play tabletop, but that's it. If I don't isolate biceps, how much bicep gains left on the table? I don't know. You're leaving some gains on the table. Can we say exactly how much? No. So just assume that you are leaving some bicep gains on the table. And it's kind of like people say, well, it's not true. Look at Olympic gymnasts. They all have good biceps. And it's like, well, if you want to make gymnastics and working the rings your full-time career and quit your normal day job and spend 20 to 40 hours a week doing rings and gymnastics work, you could do that, or you could spend 30 minutes every week doing curls and probably get the same results. It's a matter of efficiency. I would personally, if your goal is just to get big biceps, I think you should do 30 minutes to an hour of curls every week and not become a professional gymnast and make it your full-time career. Assuming you even have the genetics to do it. Now, if gymnastics is your gig and you really want to be an Olympic gymnast, then by all means. One of my favorite video games was Guitar Hero and Rock Band. I should probably have just invested in learning a real guitar. That would be my recommendation. Again, wow. Okay, can chin-ups maximize bicep growth? Not necessarily. Can they give you a lot? Chin-ups can do a lot for your biceps, don't get me wrong. But if you're talking about absolutely maximizing it and stimulus to fatigue, let me put it this way. If your goal was to maximize your biceps, 100% of everything that you want to get out of them, then why wouldn't you do some curls? Why would you say, can I just get there with this one compound movement? Well, it's clear at that point that you're really not chasing maximum growth. You're just chasing good growth, right? You're just chasing good growth. If due to a busy lifestyle, someone wanted a minimalist program, could I do only squats for legs as a mid novice? Maybe, but your posterior chain and your hamstrings is still going to be lagging. You should still do some sort of hamstring work. Okay. Again, let me be clear on that. It doesn't take that much time. You telling me you can't find 5 to 10 minutes every week to do some hamstring work? Come on. You can't be that busy. You literally cannot be that busy. Mike Israel says some advanced lifters should take a month off every year. Well, I'm going to call bullshit on that. There's no reason for that. If time or efficiency isn't a factor, can you just use single joint exercises to gain muscle across time, including progression? It's still, why would you do that? We come back over to, why do people need to go to these crazy extremes when they say stuff like, can I get away with only doing big compounds? Can I get away with doing only isolation work? Here's my advice. If your mindset is that extreme, why don't you go see a therapist about it? Work on maybe your borderline personality disorder or whatever is causing you to have this extreme crazy viewpoint, and then just do both. Wouldn't that be a lot better? Right? Then you could go work on, get whatever therapy or medications that you need for this viewpoint that you have to take everything to the furthest possible crazy extreme. And then you could come in and do both. Right? And you would be okay doing it. I travel to remote areas for long periods and can't get access to equipment. You're telling me you can't take some dumbbells? Right? Tell me you can't take some dumbbells or a barbell, Sarah, or curls necessary? Sarah, if your goal is to get the biggest possible biceps, not 90%, not 85%, if your goal is to get the biggest possible biceps that your genetics and frame will allow for, then yes, some curls will be necessary. If your goal is to just get good biceps relative to your structure and genetics, then no, you can probably get there with just some chin-ups and pull-ups. If you do lots of them. Do you see the answer? I mean, working out isn't really necessary. Building biceps, building pecs, building abs, none of it's actually necessary. I mean, living isn't necessary. So it's a question is necessary for what goal? What's your next gym equipment investment? I probably need to get rid of some of it, honestly. I have too much stuff that I don't use. No, Poi, I'm not going to recommend that at this point. Are you rejecting the dynamic effort method from Westside these days? You stopped doing it even though you were still training for strength. I still have a couple clients who do it. Now, I don't reject it outright. I think it has its place for certain sports applications. Due to diminished returns, you'll look very similar after 10 years. No, that's not true. I mean, case in point, take my client, Justin, who you see me put up stuff. I've had him as a client for about 5 years at this point. We're closing. We got to be right around 5 years. He's made gains. He had already been training for 10 years when he hired me. So how does that fit into your hypothesis? Sounds like BS. When I do dumbbell presses, it feels too easy with the weights. I can control the weights are a lot less than barbell. Does it mean I can't use the extra? No, but why can't you do both? You're going to have to do higher reps in with the dumbbells that you can control. After delts, rank top 5 muscles for aesthetics and older. I don't know. I can't answer that off the top of my head. Can push-ups compete with the bench press for chest and triceps if you make them challenging by pausing? Again, why would you do that? How much work are you going to put into loading your back and vest and having people put plates on your back and sit on your back trying to make the push-ups compete and then finding a way for it to be easy on your wrist, stuff you can grip? Why don't you just bench press? Again, people come up with these extreme things. What is wrong with just training correctly, guys? I have a very simple question, when it comes to people's mindset. What is wrong with just training correctly for your goals? How about if we just did that? What if you say, hey, these are my goals, and I should just train correctly the best that I can towards those goals, instead of, hey, can I do only double overhead deadlifts? Can I do find a way to replace the bench press with weighted push-ups by having my two waifus sit on my back? Can I, why can't we just do that? Why can't we just do that? Do you guys see it? I think that is what we should do. All right. I don't know. How many push-ups can I do? I bet I can do at least 10. At least 10 on a good day. Maybe even 11. I don't know. I don't do push-ups. Are cereal a good source of carbs if I have trouble getting carbs elsewhere? I don't know, Barjeet. You're going to have to give me the ingredient list for the cereal. Barjeet, you have all those questions in the comments. Why don't you hit me up for a consultation? Message me on Facebook. Let's do a consultation. I can probably help you with your goals. Seems like you're really struggling and have a lot of problems making basic gains. All right. Hit me up. Let's see if we can resolve that. V-taper only looks good when I flare lats a bit. Is this normal? It means you need to get bigger lats, bro. You can't find my Facebook. It is linked underneath every single one of my videos in the comments, all of them. What is the best display of fitness in your opinion? I don't know. Maybe the CrossFit Games. Because we're talking about fitness as a well-rounded thing, isn't it? I mean, it's not just a single attribute. Fitness is a pretty diverse thing. And it depends on how you define fitness. But I mean, yeah, maybe the CrossFit Games is probably the best display of fitness that I can think of off the top of my head. What percentage of the adult male can run a 5-minute 30-mile? I don't know. Let me Google that for you. I don't know. Boy, go check Google and type it in. Thoughts on Alan Thrall's shift towards running endurance? Seems like he's shifting from strength to be more well-rounded. I thought he went from strength to bodybuilding. I don't know. I haven't seen any of Alan's stuff in a while. So I guess he's going to be a runner now? I don't know. I mean, more power to him. I mean, I'm not going to hate on Alan Thrall in general, right? He's paid his dues all the way around. So, if he wants to be a runner, Barjeet, if you tell me that you cannot look under any one of my videos and find the link, I'm going to ban you for being a troll. So you might want to comment that you have in fact found it, because it is literally in the description of every single video on my channel. So if you don't correct yourself and say that you found it, in the next 60 seconds, you're going to be gone. What's your time on 5K? I think running is probably one of the best barometers of physical ability. I have no idea. Thoughts on the epidemic of fake plates that look calibrated? I think you just made that up. I've literally never heard of that before. So that is clearly an attempt to try to poke at me, even though I've had my plates for years and years and years. And you guys have seen me lift the weights, and you've seen me break state records on camera. So let's not even go there. You guys even saw me miss a 619 deadlift at the knee that I jerked right off the floor after breaking a state record. On camera. Went up on open powerlifting. Okay. Would you count medium grip bench press towards weekly tricep volume and pull-ups towards weekly bicep volume? I don't know that I would. That's a tough one to answer. Strong, that's a tough one. Chin-ups, I will 100% count towards biceps. Closed grip bench, I will count towards triceps. Okay. But as far as those go, yeah, Sarah, you know better. You go. Just get rid of that troll now. All right. I want to start running, but it's so boring. What other cardio can you do to elevate heart rate? You could do fast walking. You could do swimming. You could bike. Rondo, you don't know what cardio? There's all types of cardio, bro. It's not that difficult. Right? Not that difficult. Coach, thoughts on running for 15 minutes, lifting 3 exercises, and then another 15 minutes running, trying to be a marathon runner. Do you really think 15-minute runs are going to make you a marathon runner? Do you really think a lot of marathon runners don't do more than 3 exercises? GT, I don't think it is appropriate to make fun of Steubing. Again, I know his actual real backstory from his mother firsthand when I had to block him on some stuff. It's actually really tragic and it's really sad. And so when people make fun of that person, maybe if they don't know his backstory, then maybe they don't understand how much of a dick they're being. But long story short, without being too, because I don't want to be mean, I don't want it to sound bad in any way. He has actual brain damage due to a childhood injury that has nothing to do. It's not his own fault. It literally is not his fault. Okay, and so it's actually really sad. He actually did suffer a major injury and was in a coma and got brain damage long before he was an adult. And it's very unfortunate, but there's then some problems with that. So again, I would say it probably isn't appropriate for people to really talk about the guy or make fun of him in light of that, right? It's just not cool. And I want to just leave it at that. It's kind of not cool. Yeah. So again, I chatted with some other friends of mine who were posting stuff making, and then I told them that then they took it down. Some other lifters and stuff. I was like, oh, I didn't know. But I actually do know this firsthand. Like this is something I was told in a conversation with his mother a number of years ago. And it's really a sad story. I actually feel bad for the guy. And so therefore I tend to not like it for people to make fun of him. It's just not cool. You know what I mean, guys? It's really not cool. Yes, well, I'm a novice, so I would like to get a foot off the bench, so to speak. Well, yeah, I mean, that's fine. Limitless. In that case, yeah, go ahead. I mean, if starting with three exercises and doing some running, perfectly reasonable. You know what I mean? I know that you said that you're not talking about me. That's cool. It's just I had that a lot. I had people try to make that silly claim. So I thought you were just spinning off on that. As far as I know, I've never heard of this trend happening, by the way. No, Rondo. Genova is a completely different case. And again, I don't like to talk about Genova either. It's the same thing. The guy suffers from his own set of disabilities, but it's a completely different set, and he's higher functioning than Steubing. But again, Genova's family did the right thing and just kind of taking him off the internet. That was actually, from a responsibility perspective, that was the best thing. Because again, he was really exploited by people online in a lot of ways. And it's, again, not cool. Barjeet, those are fitness topics because these are people who have made fitness videos over the years. You said that one set gains over Poi. Again, we can't quantify that. In fact, we're talking about for novices, ranked novices. If you've been training a while, one set may not even keep the muscle that you have. How much better is pause benching than touch and go? I find pause better to have more control and relying on. I think pausing is generally better. At what age range would you say your ability to gain muscles at its best? As young as possible. In your teens or your early 20s, that's when it's at its best. I'm not saying you're going to be your biggest, but you're talking about when do you have the potential to gain the most muscle? When your body is the healthiest and fittest and you're at your peak, right? Before things like growth hormone and IGF-1 and all this stuff starts to decline due to cellular damage over time, right? Due to damage to your DNA. Like we have damage to our DNA over the years. It's not just all the hormones, and even things like growth hormone, IGF-1, all these things decline with age. So yes, the best age to gain muscle is probably your late teens. Like in terms of your ability to gain it as fast as possible, drug-free. All right, I know Piana's 8-hour arm work is silly and dangerous to me, but what's the longest workout you've ever done? I mean, like 3 hours. Do you think barbell curls are better than deadlifts? For what purpose? Barjeet, what's better, a hammer or a screwdriver? Best bench in comp, the best I think I've actually hit on the platform is 331. I've done 365. We calibrated plates for a 2-second pause on camera, but, right? But in competition, my best has only been 3:31 on the platform. Do you have open slot for a marathon runner? Limitless. I coach people in whatever, but I'm not going to necessarily program your running side. I've had marathon runners. Remember Nick? Remember when I did Nick's vlogs? And Nick is a current client still, by the way. He is a client. But Nick did marathons. I don't program his running, but I program his strength and his lifting. So of course, I have spots. Put it in application. We love you, Jason. I have full confidence you'll get back, get everything turned around and get back on top with your recent. Yeah, it's slowly coming along. Serious question. What age do men's physical attractiveness peak? I don't know. You'll have to ask some researchers on that. No idea. Couldn't tell you. Wouldn't even know how to answer that. I'm going to say right now maybe 47 because I'm looking pretty good at 47. So let's go with 47. Will you ever compete in bodybuilding? I have no intention of competing in bodybuilding. What do you think about traditional weightlifting lifts? I think they're great if you want to compete in weightlifting. Remember that Iranian guy who benched 800 calibrated plates? But those really look like calibrated plates from like true calibrated where you could see them all? I don't know about that. We didn't actually see the plates, did we? Trying to build muscle naturally is a joke. No, not really. It just won't be as effective. Cal, yeah, I'm doing fine, but I don't talk about my personal life on here. But Jump, that's like asking me, what do you think about any other sport? Well, weightlifting is a legitimate sport. All right. All right. As soon as that clears, we'll see what these next questions are. Tips on how to make arms look wider from the front. Mine look decent from the side, but tall with long arms. Get them bigger. Right? Get them bigger. That's it. If your arms get bigger, they will look wider from the side. Yeah, I did used to get mad views, but it's all good. They do okay. When you're going to live stream playing Warhammer or painting figures, I don't have any intention to do so. Yeah, Barjeet probably is. We'll see. We'll see if I let him stay around or not. I don't discuss gear on here. We don't do gear talk anymore. Not going to happen. We don't discuss that there, Cell Tech, and it doesn't go into that. But again, I mean, potentially. I mean, any manipulation of hormones can affect things like pheromones and all sorts of other stuff. All right. What else we got, guys? Yep. Yeah, Bargy, you just kind of played your hand, though, didn't you? Because you claim to not know anything and not be able to do certain things, but you know all about Dr. Mike. Bye-bye. Thoughts on conjugate these days? I only prescribe it for a couple of people, right? The secret to how to success like Jeff Side and V Shred, be really aesthetic. I mean, realistically, that's all that they bring to the table. They have really aesthetic physiques, good marketing. That's made them a success on the internet as influencers. That's what you need. Live streaming video games. Yeah, but I don't play video games anymore. Strong. We need to chill with silly trolling like that. Again, if we're not going to stick to serious training type topics, then you're going to have to go goodbye. Again, that sounds like a trolling thing, like because only someone who's a troll would even be talking about that. You know what I mean, brother? To literally talk about a pecan pie 3.0 means you've been watching crazy, weird trolling stuff. So, bye-bye. The secret to how guys like Jeff Side of E-Shred blew up is that they're good looking in the face plus marketing, and they have great physiques. Is it true that seal rows, bent over rows are your favorite because of the grip work? No. I like seal rows just because they're really strict and I feel them, right? Because I feel them a lot in my lats and in my rear delts and everything. I dog sit for a lady whose dog is diabetic. Is the insulin that they give dogs the same as guys take to get big? I actually don't know. Dan, I actually do not know the answer to that. You will have to research it. I don't know if it's compatible with human. You got me on one. You got me. I actually have no idea. Sorry. So you'll have to Google that one. I could go Google it. I mean, I could take the time, open a new tab, and Google and find out, or you could do it yourself. All right. You say girls like dudes with big wallet, but how do you even show you have one? Well, I don't know. Weight today. This morning, I was actually 210. So up a little bit. Again, just has to do with some shifts in my diet. More carbs. But they're good carbs, though. Man, you got to be an OG to remember the good carb versus bad carb thing. Jordan Peterson, I'm not going to jump into that. You already know my position on that. I've made plenty of videos discussing that. Would you recommend power cleans to jiu-jitsu athletes or athletes in general? Seems like a super athletic movement. Because of the skill component, not necessarily. I think it's overrated. I think dynamic effort work can do what you want for that. Speed squats and all those things. Probably fine as a replacement. Speed boxes, right? Speed pulls. Is Justin free to come back on? What do you mean? Justin is a current client right now. He has been a client. He's been a long-term client. Michael Hearn doing a seated back row while leaning forward looked awesome. No idea what you're talking about. Well, because people need to hear the info, because that's the problem. Everyone's always looking for the new magical thing, as if that's going to give them results, and it's not. The same things that worked 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago still work today. And I think it's important that we don't lose sight of that. And there's always new generations of people coming in who need to be reminded. There's long timers who need to be reminded of that. They need to be reminded of that. Instead of this whole new information all the time of nonsense, the newest trend, the newest fad, right? We need to be focusing on that. People hate on Michael Hearn for taking gear, but he wouldn't give him respect for having a world-class physique at such an age. I give him respect for that. Jason made the decision to be ethical over 2 years and rejected the supplement money. Doug, and there it is. I mean, people can hate on me all they want. They can say whatever about ethics or anything else, but I am one of the YouTubers who turned all of that down, turned that supplement money down way back in the day, pushed back against that. Instead of cashing in on the BioGrow and the BCAAs, I told people the truth. Okay? I told people the truth about that stuff, and it probably cost me a fortune. And believe me, dude, there are times when I look and go, my God, what was I thinking? I could have been a multimillionaire because of when I came in, had I just cashed in on all that stuff. But I made the ethical decision back then. It is what it is. You know, it is what it is, brother. Well, because I believe creatine did, and honestly, these days I do think it does a little bit. I think it's been overrated. But the thing is, Poi, I don't know if that's how we pronounce your name. The thing is, at the time, if we went off the evidence, there was no reason to think creatine wasn't a good supplement. Unlike all the other stuff, it wasn't a scam, and it still isn't a scam. It's just that it turns out it does less than what the older studies showed. It still has a benefit. We just have to keep in mind it is a microscopic benefit. Okay, it's such a small difference that it's barely noticeable, but at least it does something, and it's cheap. Nobody's nobody's getting rich selling creatine monohydrate, right? Rondo, because of the time I came in, think about how long ago I started doing YouTube. Doug, I don't know. I'm going to have to see how I feel next week with it. At the end of the day, it's all hypertrophy and bodybuilding, and I might put it back in. I just felt like this week, I just really didn't feel like doing it with a barbell, so I did it with dumbbells later, just so I could focus a little bit more on the side delts and everything. Because I do feel that I need those. I feel like my front delts are actually pretty good right now. They're pretty decent overall in terms of balance. I do think my side and rear delts need to come up more. Cal, and the fact that you keep pointing that out, it's not useful. Been watching a lot of old Jerry Ward videos recently. He was a good dude with no bad intentions. I've always had mixed feelings there, but at the end of the day, there was beef between Jerry and I. But ultimately, when I look back, I don't think he was a bad guy. I really don't. Now that he's passed, and I can be a little more clear and objective with that. There was beef between us. And that was real beef, dude. And there was beef behind the scenes. Like there was some texting back and forth when he was alive, where he flat out insulted the hell out of me. We got into it, like, and ended up blocking him over the phone and everything. There was real beef. Like there was legit beef with us. But in retrospect, now that the guy has passed, I can see his side of it. Does that make sense? Like I can look back and go, I can see why we beefed. And I'm not saying I was entirely wrong either, or he was entirely wrong. I can at least appreciate the man's position. Limitless, I already told you that. Put in an application. Cal, there's only so much you can do about that. So again, I don't know why you need to keep bringing it up unless you plan on doing something about it. Boy, why do you think Steve Shaw is one bigger than me? Why do you think that he's natural? Steve and I used to be friends. I hope he's not telling you he's natural. Did he become natural? Did he come off everything? Is that what you're saying? Is he claiming that he did? I mean, that's cool. If the dude came off everything and went down to just a replacement dose, that's cool. I consider a replacement dose in TRT natural. So if that's what he did, then that's cool. More power to him. I don't know. Is he bigger than me? I don't know. I don't see what he looks like these days. Doug, yeah, unfortunately, that is the case. That is unfortunately the case. How much weight have you dropped since you switched to the bodybuilding style training? Oh gosh, probably 25 pounds, 20 to 25. I guess it depends on what we talk about being there. No, he claims electron natural just like Alex and others claim natural. Oh, okay. Okay. So they claim natural. All right. Favorite pull-up variation. Dude, I like overhand wide grip. That is my favorite pull-up variation. I feel the most lat activation when I do that personally, and it feels good on my shoulders, right? Someone who's had previous shoulder impingement and everything, that version feels really good. Would an obese person that exercise moves be a lot better off health-wise than a thin person who doesn't exercise at all and doesn't move much? Depends on how obese they are. Marco, there is a point where absolutely obesity, even if you run marathons, the activity will not offset the negative effects of the obesity. Okay. Now, neither one is particularly optimal. Glad you and Alex are back on good terms. Yeah, I have no beef with Alex. Even though you use Steve Reeves as a natural role model, he has gifted genetics. I don't know. I wouldn't say that people won't reach that naturally. Cal, yes, there's been plenty of new data. I've discussed it ad nauseum, right? And I've taken that position back. I've made videos literally explaining why I used to believe that, what set of data led me in the whole evidence-based world to presume that. And I've then adjusted, taken it back and said, look, there's been newer data. We were probably silly for taking that position, and we need to all just do better moving forward. Okay. Right. And have I not done all that? And I've explained it in detail. So if you get something wrong based upon the evidence, the correct thing to do, the morally and intellectually correct thing to do is to correct yourself. Right? Which I have done in multiple videos at this point. So I've corrected myself based upon the data, based upon the information, and said, you know what? I and the whole evidence-based community, because it wasn't just me, looks like we kind of dropped the ball on that one. And I believe I said in one of those videos, I'm going to have to eat crow. I'm going to have to eat humble pie on it. Right? Those were my words in one of the videos. I said, I'm going to have to eat humble pie on this one and say I was fucking wrong. Dan, but what do you mean new data? But that isn't new. People have been doing body part splits for 30 years successfully. And that's kind of the point, right? No, Cal, I'm not going to. Cal, it sounds like you kind of sound like a troll. You seem to be really obsessed with, you said this, and then you're not seeing the other. You need to remove some of your videos. You see what I'm saying, dude? All right. But Dan, there you go. Therein lies the point. It isn't new. It isn't new. How long have people been doing body part splits successfully? Since at least the 80s. That's what, 40 years? All right. So that's not in conflict with what I just said in any way. APU, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, people get upset. Have you noticed that? That's why a lot of people don't correct themselves. Do you know that's a big reason why people don't correct themselves? Is because when you do, whenever you correct yourselves, people literally attack you for it. When you say, hey, I was wrong, I need to change my position, you get attacked. Okay, we're closing in on the hour. I'm going to wind this down here shortly. Carter Beardsley discussed a study that shows frequency doesn't matter when weekly volume was matched and high frequency groups were likely not recovered, which negated the high frequency benefits. Yep, I've seen some of that data too, Marco. Do you have any advice for someone who works full-time to keep inside the fitness goals? Just train. Work them inside your goals. I mean, I used to work 60 hours a week and still train, right? Used to have a 60-hour a week job and still manage to get to the gym and train. Totally doable. You go train and you eat, meal prep, do whatever you have to do. Thoughts on running marathons around Indonesia? I don't know anything about Indonesia. Sorry. Uh, Doug, yeah, no, if you ban them, then they're forced to make new accounts. It just makes it harder for them. They're going to keep doing it till they get bored, but don't make it easy for them, right? The harder they have to work, the sooner they get bored. APU, I don't even remember at this point, to be honest with you. I mean, we're talking a long time ago, but I made it work. And does it really matter what split we used? If it's good training, it's good training. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wind this down. We only have like 18 people watching at this point. We've been almost an hour. So I'm going to wind it down. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys and gals next time. And we're out.